And good morning. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. A lot to do on the program. Coming up in just a bit, former NFL head coach Dirk Koetter is going to join us. He was the head coach in Tampa when Todd Monken was the coach there. We will find out a little bit more about what we should expect. And the Ravens' new offensive coordinator, again, Dirk Koetter, joins us here in a little bit. Also this morning, I'm going to catch up with LaMonte Wade, former Terp, Baltimore native, having an outstanding season. Lead off LaMonte now for the San Francisco Giants, where he's OPSing over 400. Not OPSing, sorry, on basing. On basing.
He'd be
yes,
Mateo.
It would not be good. You're right about that. We're going to talk to LaMonte Wade a little bit about his season, also a lot more about a guy that I know he cares about a great deal, this new Maryland baseball coach, Matt Swope, getting an idea of what the Terps are getting in their new head man, who LaMonte has told us before was essential to the success that he has found in Major League Baseball. And we will take a trip to Bowie. Jud Fabian just got the call up after he had a strong start to the season at Aberdeen. We will talk to him again about being bumped up to the AA level as well. So that's all on the way this morning here on GCR. Today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. An unpleasant day in St. Petersburg. Orioles had the opportunity to get that little mini sweep, get back within one in the loss column, all of those things. And, yes, obviously that did not occur. It's a weird bit where we're used to the home runs with Tyler Wells, right? Like, you've kind of accepted them because they're solo home runs, and you know, he doesn't put runners on base. If it's a runner on base, it's a home run. It's a problem, but in the large scheme of things, it's not really a problem because all the other numbers are largely pretty good. But for having the best whip in baseball, there's a reason why he didn't have the best ERA in baseball. It's because he gives up home runs. So to some extent, you can kind of live with it. The way that it kind of fell apart after that, I mean, some of that's on him just not being able to defend the position, obviously. It's just kind of a mess. And then on top of things, the Orioles didn't do anything at the plate. All they got was a pair of solo home runs themselves. It was not a day in Tampa at all. That said, everything that we said yesterday still rings true, that they avoided the disastrous scenario. They still have a winning record against the Rays this season at 3-2. They are only 3 games back in the loss column. There's a lot of time, all of those things. At some point, it feels like the Orioles are going to have to make a move again if they're going to be in the AL East race. Like, they're going to have a stretch where they're not just playing, head above water baseball, but they're going to have to play significantly good baseball again. Hopefully, what we saw last night where Cedric Mullins down in Norfolk hit a 2-run homer late in the game as they clinched the first half title. Hopefully, that's a sign of Cedric Mullins being ready soonish. What do you do with Aaron Hicks when Cedric Mullins is back? Whatever you want. That ain't going to be my... I have greatly enjoyed the Aaron Hicks thing, but you figure that out. Cedric Mullins, they need it. They need it. They need it. They need it. And a reminder, yesterday they ended up doing a B bullpen day. And it's not like the B bullpen was the problem yesterday. The problem was, a disastrous second inning and the fact that they couldn't get any offense going. But, it was also a reminder that you don't really feel good about the B bullpen either. So those are things that they have to address moving forward. And, again, some of it will be addressed internally. The bad news, and I hate to be the one to say it, is that someone else is still going to get hurt. Like, that's just the way this goes. And they could use reinforcements wherever those reinforcements come from. It's almost cartoonish how long it feels like we've been waiting for Jordan Westberg or Colton Cowser to get called up. I mean, it's almost comical that we're still having this conversation. But who knows? Who knows when it might be? The one little bit of, like, information that you can take from yesterday's game is they did put Cole Irvin in out of the bullpen, so they are not going to pitch Cole Irvin tomorrow, clearly, and instead they would need him on Tuesday or another fifth starter. And the fact they decided to go to Cole Irvin does make you wonder if they're reconsidering whether or not they want to bring Grayson Rodriguez back to make that start. I don't know, given all of the nature of the rainouts and everything. Has Grayson pitched yet this week?
Yeah, I think he pitched yesterday, and I think he didn't make it out of the fifth inning.
That's not a great sign. It would make you think they probably won't go to him then.
He was at like 80-some pitches through 4 2/3, I think.
Not ideal.
No.
Not ideal.
Not really.
Not exactly what you're looking for him to be doing if you're trying to get him back to the major league level. 4 1/3. 1 earned run, 4 hits, but 3 walks. After he had 2 huge strikeout games, the 2 outings before, he had just 4 strikeouts yesterday. There's nothing grotesque in there at all.
But except for the fact, you want the guy to go 5 innings.
Well, yes, obviously you want to go 5 innings, but, like it might have been one of those things where he would have easily gone 5 innings, so they not just pulled him because of pitches. I'm trying to find if you can get a pitch count on that. And here we go. Pitches.
I feel like
strikes.
I saw it somewhere.
92 pitches.
Ooh, okay. So I was undershooting it.
Not great. Not great. Look, it certainly does not demand Grayson Rodriguez getting back to the major league level. I don't know how you weigh that versus, again, the option of Cole Irvin. I don't know how you weigh that versus what you wanted Grayson Rodriguez to do during his stint in the minors. I don't know that one start, again, that wasn't bad. It just was not economic by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know if it's a unique thing about the Nashville Sounds that they take more pitches. I mean, I have no idea how that all works. I don't know how that impacts what the Orioles' decision is, but they clearly don't feel strongly about the need to have Cole Irvin in the rotation because they took him out of the rotation this time through. And it's not to preserve innings for Cole Irvin. That's not the priority here. So I don't know. I don't have the answer. Again, the option, the easy thing to say is they can just have Cole Irvin start on Tuesday and all's good. But they didn't need to do it this way, and they could have been preserving innings for, Tyler Wells, someone who they actually need to preserve innings for. We think they might need to preserve innings for, and they didn't choose to do that. So I don't know what to make of any of it. I would say I would still probably prioritize having Grayson Rodriguez at the major league level versus Cole Irvin needing to be in the rotation. I just don't see – there's nothing about Cole Irvin that says to me that guy's got to be in the rotation, whereas I think Grayson Rodriguez has got to be using his pitches in the majors and not in the minors, in whatever capacity that is.
Even if you're going to get 4 1/3 and –
Yes. Even if you're going to get 2, any innings that Grayson Rodriguez is throwing, I think, should be thrown in the major leagues. I don't think that there is anything to be gained from having him continue to throw innings in the minors. Is there some goofy world in which the Orioles wanted Norfolk to clinch this thing so that they would know that they would have the opportunity to play more baseball at the end of the year and guys can get more experience? And now that they've clinched this thing, now they can make some decisions about guys that can come up? That seems very silly, but is it impossible? Again, as they measure all of the various things they want from this season, I don't know. It could be a factor. It could be one of those things where, like, this week, they would have felt comfortable bringing one of those guys up, but they said, well, hell, if we got to get 3 more days down there, we can clinch an appearance in the championship, and then we can have some AA guys get some more experience at the end of the season and play something closer to a 162-game season. We find that to be valuable for us. I wouldn't be making decisions that way, but I don't know. It's not nothing.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean, Norfolk was, like, by up so much, though, like, in the standings. I think all they needed to do was, like, not get swept, and the other team, whoever was behind them,
Right,
not
but so
sweep.
just get to the point.
Well, so, like, I don't think that doesn't seem like a smart – it doesn't seem smart if that was actually the case.
What do you mean
of
that doesn't
them.
seem smart? I'm talking about a very specific scenario.
Right. Well,
where-
why would they need to clinch last night versus if they clinched on Sunday?
Whenever they clinch.
Yeah.
They just say, now that we've clinched, let's just go ahead. Like, I'm talking about a scenario where they didn't feel like these guys – if 2 weeks ago they felt like these guys were ready and they said, no, we're going to wait it out, that's insanity. But if they didn't make that decision until Monday and said, look, we think these guys would be ready if they wanted to do it, and then they said, or we can just leave them down there, let them clinch that thing, know that we've got it, and then make the move, I can understand why they would say the difference 2 days is not such a significant difference that they wouldn't find some value in it. Now, again, I don't care one way or the other, me personally, Glenn Clark. But within their organization, they might. And the difference in 2 days isn't that big of a deal. For what it's worth, we don't know that they feel that way today. There's so many layers to this thing that we don't know any of it. But yes, if they had decided 3 weeks ago, we think Jordan Westberg's ready, and then they said, yeah, but we really got to clinch the first half title, that's badass. That's bonkers. But we're just spitballing and throwing things out there and sticking it against the wall. We have no idea, and I have no reason to think that that would be a thought process. Just that maybe they were making a decision between 2 days, and this was the difference in the 2 days. Whatever, that's over now. We will see if finally, I mean, it's to the point where it's lasted so long that we've kind of stopped caring.
Yeah.
Like, it's the remarkable part about it. It's so absurdly overdue that nobody's even worked up about it any longer.
They did it. They outlasted us.
All of the things that we like the Jorge Mateo, we should probably be making a move. Well, that was weeks ago. You should be probably making a move on Jorge Mateo, and it didn't happen. So
at this point, I know they're going to ride him.
We've just kind of accepted it. Like, Jorge Mateo is just here. We got to deal with it. It's what it is. I still think that at some point they'll consider these things, but they appear to just love them some Jorge Mateo no matter what, even though I don't like trashing anyone. I don't feel good about that. I don't feel.
Go for it.
No, I don't want to do that. It doesn't help me in any way. It
OPS
doesn't make me feel better about myself by any stretch of the imagination. It just sort of is what it is. Orioles split the 2 in Tampa. They have another off day because good. We can use some more of those. And then they open up a series against the Mariners tomorrow night. So Kyle Gibson will move up and make that start instead of Cole Irvin in order to open the series. And we'll see what happens come next Tuesday. That will be the date where we figure things out. Presumably they'll make an announcement before then, but that's when the Orioles will need another pitcher. It'll
bullpen day.
No, that cannot be the answer. That cannot be it. No, anything but that is an option. Anything but that would be on the table. It cannot be a bullpen day. It'll go Gibson, Kramer, and
Bradish.
No, Bradish started
yesterday or Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah.
So he'll
be Sunday.
No.
Then who's going to pitch Sunday?
Who are we forgetting about?
You went Gibson tomorrow. Saturday Kramer.
Yeah.
And then
because he started. Oh, right. You're right. Because then it'll be Wells on Monday. And yes, corrected. Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Wells will be on Monday.
Bullpen day Tuesday.
No, not bullpen day. Stop. Would you stop it? I don't have anything to say. The NBA draft is tonight. I have literally nothing to say about it. We don't have a team, so who cares? I do remember, like, when I was when in a different era of college basketball, when we had watched these guys for 3 years, the draft was a big deal to me because these guys were stars. There's like 2 stars in this draft. Then there's a bunch of guys that, like, we kind of are aware of, but we don't really know all that well. And then if there happens to be a local connection like there is with Cam Whitmore in this year's draft. So, there's not a whole lot for me to say about it. Victor Wembanyama is the story, clearly, and then I guess the Hornets are trying to make it seem like there's some sort of drama about who they're going to pick at number 2, whereas it seems like it's going to be Brandon Miller. And then
Scoot Henderson.
Yes, everybody's saying that that's a possibility.
Scoot.
None of this interests me. I will not watch a second of the NBA draft. And would it be different if the Phoenix Suns had an early draft pick? Maybe, but really, since I moved out of Phoenix, I don't think I've watched the draft at all. Like, I just don't. Again, the nature of college basketball changing, and the fact that we don't have a team here to root for, there's no interest to me in the draft. The Wizards continue to dismantle as they traded away Kristaps Porzingis after everything else. They've got about 1 billion second-round picks. All of the second-round picks, which later they will not use and instead sell for money like they've done throughout the history of their franchise. So just got to be a joy. Brian Powell messaged me last night and said, a 40-year Wizards fan. And I was like, and I thought to myself, is it you? Like, are you? Because if you are, you've never brought it up. And then I realized he
closeted Wizards fan.
He could be talking about somebody else we know, like a Pete Medhurst or somebody like that. And Pete Medhurst is too much of a reasonable human being to be all that invested in any particular team. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm talking about like a hardcore. When we did this Would You Rather Wednesday scenario yesterday, I was looking for like a hardcore fan of some sort, and I don't know who that person would be.
Someone who lives and dies.
Yeah, and
I think you might just be right that
I don't think said person exists.
People are smart enough not to get that worked up about it.
Well, it's hard to find anybody who's even a casual fan of the team.
I'm a casual fan.
You're
of the
not
team.
really even a casual fan of the team.
I mean,
a casual fan of the team. Name 5 players on the roster currently.
Tyus Jones.
I don't know who Tyus Jones is.
He's who they just traded for yesterday.
Oh, okay, sure.
From Memphis.
Yeah.
DeLon Wright.
Okay. Well, I mean, you might just be making up names. Don't look at the internet. Don't look at the internet.
Daniel Gafford.
If you say
obviously.
so.
Yeah, Daniel Gafford. He's the center.
If you say so.
Corey Kispert.
All right. I don't know if these players are on the team or not.
Corey Kispert is.
I'll choose to believe
the
him.
guy they drafted like 2 years ago.
I remember Corey Kispert. I didn't know that he was on the Wizards.
He was drafted.
If
by
you
the
say
Wizards.
so.
And then, is Admiral Schofield still a Wizard? I don't think so.
He's not listed on the roster.
Yeah, I don't think he is.
You're struggling here.
I am struggling.
Yeah.
I mean,
struggling to the finish line.
I think that's what they want. DeLon Wright.
You already said him.
Oh, I already said him.
Jesus.
DeLon Wright twice.
Yeah, right.
He counts as 2 guys.
2 DeLon Wright.
I guess I'm just gonna give up.
You're not. That's the point. You're not even a cat. You're someone who says.
Denny Avdia.
There you go. You found one. I actually knew that one. That guy I knew. I could have said him, and there was another one that you didn't say that I feel like I could have said. Kuzma's still on the team, right?
Yeah, he's gonna be gone though.
I know he's gonna be gone, but he's still on the team at the moment, I believe. So I think that would have been one. My God, these people do not exist. They're not real, and the basketball team's not real either. So I guess that they deserve each other. That's all I can say about
15
that.
games next year.
What?
They'll win 15 games next year. I guess best case scenario, they win 15 games.
Sure. Why not?
So that they get a good pick.
We'll just go with that.
Get the top pick.
I did watch a little bit of the lacrosse last night as the World Championships opened out in San Diego. Kind of a lackluster. This is the problem. The international lacrosse style, because they want to play so many games in such a short amount of time, like running clock and no possession clock. It is a bear, man. The U.S. won. It was very lackluster. They won 7-5. Not exactly a thriller in the opener. No big time highlights, anything like that. It was not a great made for TV spectacle, except for, was that Steve Aoki that was DJing? I didn't have the sound on. I was listening with the sound off.
Probably was. Sounds like something Steve Aoki would.
It looked like
Steve.
The guy that was. They had somebody DJing in the end zone, and it looked like it was Steve Aoki, and I was like, okay, that's something. Like, I guess I'm not really sure. The U.S. won, and so if you have a particular rooting interest, that's a good thing. It's always a very difficult thing with the World Championships because, like, it's a line. It was Steve Aoki, by the way. It's a line between wanting to root for the U.S. versus, hey, the U.S. is supposed to win. The World Championships are supposed to be more of a showcase for the sport, and that's the tricky part of the World Championships in lacrosse is. What you're really rooting for is highlights. What you're really rooting for is excitement and things that get some traction on social media and get people to pay attention and care a little bit more about lacrosse. And there wasn't a lot of that last night in the opener, which was the showcase game. It's also not fun that they do it at 10 o'clock. Speaking of which, I just saw that the Gold Cup game in Chicago on Saturday is going to start at 10 o'clock in Chicago.
They just don't care about Glenn Clark.
But what is that?
Oh, in Chicago? Yeah, I guess that's...
Why? That's 9 o'clock local time. Why? What are we doing? And whoever, I think it might have been Stephen Goff that was tweeting about it, pointed out That like what's on FS1 leading up to it is pre-taped drag racing. It's not even like it was for TV. We had to do it at this time. They're choosing.
They have their programming
They're
window.
choosing to start the match at 10 o'clock. It's just dumb. And I know nobody actually cares. I don't know it's not even a real competition or anything like that. But my God, we don't have a lot right now. It's a dearth of major events, and we could use a few more of them. And watching the Team USA in whatever form or fashion play soccer is something that I've always chosen to do. So I know I'm kind of an old man shaking my fist at a cloud right now, but I didn't care for the news that was going to happen at 10 o'clock on Saturday night as well. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. We're offering new sports bettors the best sign-up bonuses and promos from the 7 legal online sports books. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers right now and get offers like $150 in bonus bets from DraftKings after you place your first $10 bet, or up to $1,250 in bonus bets from Caesars. Time is limited to get the best offers from all of the sports books. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers and sign up today. As I mentioned, the Orioles do fall back to 5 games behind the Rays in the AL East, 3 games in the loss column with the defeat last night. We haven't even started to look at. I'm not even at a place where I'm really looking at wild card standings yet. That's not a concern to me because the Orioles are fairly comfortable in that department. They're sitting in the first wild card spot. They've been fluctuating with Texas for who has the second best record in baseball. Right now, they're a half game behind Texas for the second best record. But right now, the Orioles are 5 games up on the third wild card team, which is Houston, 5.5 games up on the first team outside the wild card picture. So I haven't felt the need to go too far into that just yet. All right, let's grab a break. When we come back in, we're scheduled to be joined by Dirk Koetter, but we also might move some things around this morning. We'll see. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
Are you a diehard O's fan looking for the perfect way to show your team spirit? Look no further than Birdland Sports. Birdland Sports is a small business run by fans for fans. They offer a wide variety of unofficial O's merchandise, from the Birds Are Coming tees to player cartoon shirts and more. And the best part? Their prices are more affordable than the big guys. So head to birdlandsports.com and grab your gear today. Show your support for the Birds with Birdland Sports.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Dave Ginsburg remembers Goose as he looks back on the impact that late Tony Saragusa had both on and off the field here in Baltimore. Plus, he explains how Goose's kids are working to continue that legacy with the Goose Flights program. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles the path Tyler Wells has taken to becoming a star in the Orioles rotation. And you'll find a special summer travel guide with information about events and activities throughout the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/pressboxonline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know what's on Grindr or anything, I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along here in a Thursday edition of the program. Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson, typically every Monday. This week they did it on Tuesday, but typically every Monday they are getting together at facebook.com/PressBoxSports in order to talk a little baseball. If you missed it this week, you can find it by going to the same location and clicking on the videos tab, or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, PressBoxOnline.com/video, the other places to find it. And tonight, Stan the Fan Charles and Gary Stein are getting together with Frank Remish. He is, of course, the man behind the CFG Bank Arena, the renovated CFG Bank Arena. General Manager Frank Remish will join the guys tonight, 6 o'clock. Again, you can watch it live, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Stan, Gary, Frank Remish talking about the role that sports may play in the future of the newly renovated CFG Bank Arena. Make sure you are tuned in for that. Dave messaged and said, do you think the Orioles are regretting not skipping Tyler Wells? No. I mean, it's disappointing, but I think they wanted him to start against the Rays. He was been their best starter. It just didn't work out. Might they regret? No, I don't think they're regretting that at all. I think it was an option. They didn't take it. So throughout the course of the offseason, we have been chatting with folks that know the Ravens' new offensive coordinator, trying to find out a little bit more about what we should expect in Baltimore. And we have chatted with Freddie Kitchens, and we've chatted with Jameis Winston, and a number of people. But an opportunity. I don't know if this man will even remember, but I was part of a show when I was out in Phoenix. He was the head coach at Arizona State, and we had a few conversations with him during that time. In fact, he was such a fan of the show that I was on that he would sometimes call in and ask if he'd play along with some of our silly games that we would play when I was hanging out with the guys Big O and Dukes back on 101.5 out in Phoenix. He is a former NFL head coach and a man who spent some time with Todd Monken down in Tampa. He's Dirk Koetter, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's been a very long time. Thank you so much for taking some time for us this morning.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Coach, I just, if you could, your relationship with Todd Monken, what should we know about him before we find out about the football side on the personal side?
Well, yeah, he first he's a great family man. He and his wife Terry have one son, Travis, who's a student at Oklahoma State, and Todd has incredible sense of humor. That probably won't get shown in public too often as a coach, but great guy to have on your staff because he has the ability to keep it light and make people laugh. I mean, this guy made me laugh every day, and loved being on two different coaching staffs with him.
Well, why did you take me back? Why, when you were elevated to head coach in Tampa, why did you know that you wanted Todd Monken to be your offensive coordinator?
Todd and I had coached together in Jacksonville back starting in 2007 on Jack Del Rio's staff. Mm-hmm. And when I got the head job in Tampa, Todd was then the head coach at Southern Miss, and I needed a guy that my background is mostly quarterback play. I needed a guy first and foremost who was a strong wide receiver coach, and at the same time I needed someone that even though at first I was still the play caller, and then eventually Todd became the play caller, so I needed someone who I knew could eventually take over play calling, but had a strong wide receiver and quarterback background. And it took some convincing to get Todd to leave being a college head coach to come back to the NFL. But just like when he went to Georgia, I think Todd has always wanted to get back to the NFL, and what a great opportunity he has there in Baltimore.
Dirk Koetter is with us here on GCR. We're talking about new Ravens offense coordinator Todd Monken. Coach, one of the things that everybody has talked to me about is how, unlike some guys who have a system and they come with their system and you're going to run their system, that Todd Monken is not a system guy. He's a let's make whatever we do work for the personnel that we have. Was that what you knew of Todd Monken, and how valuable did you find that to be, his sort of pliability as an offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think you have to be. I think you have to be that way because, the NFL, you're turning over approximately a third of your team every year, and it's just with that much turnover in both players and coaching staffs, it's tough to have a system be a perfect fit all the time. So, Todd has coached in all kinds of different systems, and then eventually you kind of turn that into your own system, but that's got to be extremely pliable and able to adapt to the talent that you have. You saw at Georgia, they did a great job. They had really good tight ends. They did a great job of using the tight end in their offense. And, I'm sure he's going to, as he learns the personnel there in Baltimore, and they've changed their wide receiver room significantly here this offseason. I'm sure he's going to adapt to what he sees, but basically he's going to build it around what Lamar Jackson does best.
And look, obviously, it's nice to have a Lamar Jackson in order to do that with. It's a little bit easier to work around an offense when you got that to begin with. That being said, we certainly saw you guys have, offensive success, right? And I know you're an offensive guy. Is there an example that you could give me of maybe somebody that you think most benefited from their time with Todd Monken during the time that you were with him?
Oh, I would say that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin would be two guys.
Pretty good ones.
The two wide receivers. Yeah, two really good ones. Mike was already an established player, and Chris was a young player just coming into the league, much like you guys have with new guys coming into the league there in Baltimore. But I think what Todd does a really good job of is just relating to all the players, and I think the players will like him. Todd's a pro. I mean, he's gonna get the best out of those guys, and they're gonna enjoy playing for him.
As far as bringing a quarterback to a next level, right? I think everybody's talked about this with Lamar Jackson, that we all know the talent. It's unbelievable. It's unreal. And there are people that try to limit him and suggest he's more of a runner. Like we've seen, he makes every throw there is to be made. He has improved steadily. But do you feel like that Todd Monken is the coach that can maybe open things up even a little bit more and get and harness all of that skill set that Lamar Jackson has?
Yeah, I do. I do think that, and part of that is Baltimore was just a terrific running team the past few years, and I just think being a little bit more balanced and spreading the ball around to all your various playmakers. I think Todd will do a great job of that, and I think it'll be a work in progress. It's not going to happen just overnight, but I think they'll learn each other. They'll learn the players, and it's going to be fun to watch. I'm definitely going to be a fan.
The fact that he had Odell Beckham before and said I want to sign up for more of that, right? Like he was with him in Cleveland, and where other people say, hey, Odell Beckham can be a distraction, or what do you think that says about the relationship he had? That and can you talk about that as a coach, that you don't sign up for something like that unless you feel very strongly about a particular player, right?
Yeah, I would. I think that's a logical conclusion that can be drawn. Is we don't know all the ins and outs of what choices of teams guys had to go for what amount of money, but certainly players don't want to go somewhere and be coached by somebody that they don't like their style, don't like their personality, whatever. So I'd say that that's a pretty good sign that those two are going to have a successful reunited, so to speak.
I mean, look, I think it's every reason to hope that is a good connection. And we don't know exactly where Odell Beckham is, obviously, at this point in his career and given the injuries. But I think it's every reason to be excited about what that relationship could bear. How much do you think it drives him? Like, you mentioned wanting to get back to the NFL. Like, this is an opportunity legitimately in Baltimore to win a Super Bowl. How much do you feel like that probably drives him at this point?
Oh, I think that drives almost every coach in the NFL. So, obviously coming off the tremendous success they had at Georgia over the last couple of years and back-to-back national championships, he's won at the highest level in college football, and I'm sure he's motivated to win at the highest level in pro football.
How much do you look at what the Ravens have done as a whole? Like the fact they've been able to sustain. You know this from all the places you've been. It's not easy to continue at this high level for such a long time. Coach, if you could, just your thoughts on how it is the Ravens have built something that has sustained for so long as one of the top, most successful, most consistent franchises in all of football.
Well, I'm pretty good friends out here in Boise, Idaho, with Chuck Pagano, and Chuck just raves about the organization from the owner on down. Obviously, stability within an organization, and I think Coach Harbaugh is the second longest tenured coach in the NFL, second or third. He's in the top 2 or 3. Obviously, the job that Ozzie did in his many years as the GM, and I just think their overall stability. They've done a great job at how they pick players. They've got a winning tradition, and I know the times I played there, they got great fans. So, but I think that the key there is just the stability throughout the organization, starting at the very top.
Is it just like everybody, all coaches go out to Idaho at this point? Is that the way it works? We love Chuck, by the way. He's one of our favorite people on the face of the planet. Is it just a nice place to go
Chuck's
like when you deal with the stress of being a coach for a long time, it's good to get out to somewhere like Boise and just kind of chill for a little while after that?
No, I'm looking out my window at this lake, Payette Lake up in McCall, Idaho right now, and if you could see the view I'm looking at, and it's about 45 degrees, going to be a high of 65 today.
Man.
Kicking off the summer, and we got a big golf tournament Chuck will be at this weekend up here, and it's good. It's a good spot.
All right, that doesn't sound so bad when you describe it like that. It sounds like it's probably not a bad way to spend some time. Coach, what about you? Have you reached that point? I know you were working out in Boise, and that was what brought you out there. Have you just sort of decided that's where you want to be, or is maybe there's still an itch there that you could scratch at some point?
Well, 41 years in coaching that's a lot of years. So I have 2 of my kids that are in coaching. My oldest daughter is the head volleyball coach at University of Wyoming.
Oh, wow.
And my youngest son just finished playing college football at Boise State last year and is now a GA at University of Texas. So my wife's a former college volleyball player. So between volleyball and football, we got plenty of teams to root for.
You can be, right? And I assume that that's you're not a bad person for him to reach out to with questions, and you can sort of offer a bit of consulting, perhaps. And I'm sure it's a little bit cheaper than what he would have to pay to get some consulting elsewhere. That might be a pretty good gig for the rest of the time that you want to spend doing that. That's not so bad. Coach, I got to tell you, it was a long time ago, but I was out there in Phoenix with you, and you were always great to us. And so it's great to catch up, and I really appreciate all the kindness that you showed when I was a young man kind of cutting my teeth in this business. So great to hear from you. Appreciate you spending a few minutes with us. Thanks so much for telling us more about Todd Monken this morning.
All right, best of luck, and go Ravens. Let's get it done.
I love that. Thank you, Coach. Coach Dirk Koetter with us here on GCR, of course, former head coach in Tampa Bay, where Todd Monken was his offensive coordinator, giving us a little bit of insight about the Ravens' offensive coordinator. A couple of things really quickly. Dave says, do you feel like after seeing what Cedric Mullins did, there's no reason for him to do anything more and can be back this weekend? What did he do for did he have he hit the home run, I know.
I think that was his only hit. I think he went 1 for 3. He might have had a walk or something.
I think that's a feel thing as much as it is anything else. I don't think Cedric Mullins needs to be down there for long. Am I certain that he's back this weekend? I don't know. I don't know if that was discussed after the game by Brandon Hyde.
He went 1 for 5. He did not get a walk. Yeah.
But the results aren't all that significant. That's what I would say is I don't think the home run really matters all that much.
He had another hard hit ball in there, I know, that got robbed. But
I just don't think that they were saying to themselves, we need to see Cedric Mullins go 3 for 5 in order to feel comfortable. I think the Cedric
Mullins, sure he can run.
Right. Can he run? Does he have all the range of motion in order to be able to fly around in center field and cover all of the ground they want him to cover? Does he feel good? I think a lot of times you want to have guys do back-to-backs, right? And that way you can feel good for a day. There's something different between feeling good for a day. Do they play again today? Or?
They have a doubleheader today.
They have the doubleheader today because this was the rain out from 2 days ago. So I would say maybe if they they do back-to-backs, then perhaps they give him Friday off and bring him back on Saturday, something like that. You could, if everything else the boxes are checked. But it also, to me, wouldn't be stunning if they wanted him to maybe finish the weekend. The weekend's a long way to go. I would think you try to have him do back-to-back if he's comfortable. I mean, I'm spitballing here. I just don't. I guess all I'm really trying to say is I don't think the actual results of his at-bats or...
I mean, if he went like 0 for 20 this weekend...
I still think that he's
matter.
a Major League Baseball player.
Right.
Like, this is not somebody who gets sent down. He's a Major League Baseball player. Baseball players go through stretches where they just don't get results. It happens. But the point of having Cedric Mullins do a rehab assignment is feel good. And if you feel good, then you're at the Major League level because you're Cedric Mullins. That's the way that this works. So, no, I don't think that suddenly him hitting a home run makes them say, well, change all of the plans. Everything. Scrap it. Scrap all of it. One home run. Immediately remove him. Whatever the plans were, they're going to continue to check the boxes. I don't know that, like, we get sick of hearing that whenever somebody, well, we got a process and there's things they want to do. Well, that is the way that it works. And we're smart enough to know what it is. Back-to-back. How did he come out of it after playing back? Like, does he play back-to-back days and still feel good? Does he feel the entire range of motion? Some of it is literally just how Cedric Mullins feels. I think everybody just sort of assumes that all of these guys say, well, I need to be at the Major League level as soon as possible. They also want to be able to trust themselves physically. They want to know physically that they are truly capable of doing all of the things that they want to do in order to be the player that they think they're capable of being. So I think a lot of this will just be answered by Cedric Mullins and how he feels as he goes through this versus, again, whatever silly things we think that matter because he hit one home run and everything changes. What did Mountcastle do?
I did not see. I'll find out though.
And I know both Givens and Tate got into the game too, correct?
Yes. I'll pull up the box. Pull up the box.
Right.
Must not have been too notable.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really see anything floating around about any of the other guys, so I'm guessing nothing particularly significant occurred. But I mean, I don't know how many particularly significant things can occur for relief pitchers that make cameo appearances. So I don't know that we would have seen a whole lot about it. We still don't have it.
Yeah, still.
All right.
Mountcastle went 0 for 5. He had 3 strikeouts.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Dylan Tate had an inning, and he allowed 2 hits, allowed 1 run, and had a strikeout.
Say Tate had
an inning.
An inning.
2 hits.
1 run.
1 run allowed. And then Michael Givens, 1 inning, scoreless, no hits, no walks, strikeouts.
Well, Tate, I think that one. I think Tate and Givens, it'll still be a little while. And by a little while, I mean, I'm talking about, like, it could be the better part of a week. Because they still, with both of them, they're more prolonged injuries, and there's still more of a question of how ramped up they are. Like, obviously, Givens went through it the first time and wasn't. So I think there's still a little bit more concern with those guys and getting them ramped up for being ready to be leveraged relievers at the Major League level. So I don't think there's anything much there. Boy, the Mountcastle.
Yeah, the Mountcastle. Prieto stole a base in his AAA debut. Also picked up a hit.
Good for Cesar Prieto. The Mountcastle thing is complicated because you almost could see a scenario where, like, they just leave him on rehab for a couple of days because they're still trying to figure all of this out.
Right.
Like, they still... It's almost a delay tactic at some point. Like, yeah, you sure you're feeling better? Where it's awkward because, as I said before, Mountcastle's not even coming off an injury. Like, you would think he'd just be ready to go. But I just don't... Ready to go to what? That's the tough part. And it's easy to say, well, you can just boot Josh Lester and there's your roster spot. But it's... The problem isn't figuring out how to get Mountcastle back on the roster. The problem is figuring out what Ryan Mountcastle is.
And we might have our answer. That's like,
I mean, I'm not gonna overreact to him.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna overreact to that. Like that doesn't prove that Ryan Mountcastle can never again be an everyday baseball player because he had one day where he went 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts.
Well, that's the thing is that it wasn't just one day.
I understand, but like it doesn't give you definitive proof. If what you're saying is you think you have proof from what we had seen before, I do hear you. Like I do get that. I think that's more difficult for them than it is for us. I think that's a far more awkward decision that they have to make. And, they still have to come up. They have to clear a roster spot for Mullins, too. Like, they could bring back Mountcastle. It's easy to say, okay, so you let Josh Lester go. They got to clear a roster spot for Mullins, and
so that's going to be,
McKenna, I guess, right? Like, I think it kind of has to be. They don't. I think it kind of has to be McKenna. They have weirdly felt like they needed McKenna, but I just don't think you can justify it any longer. I guess your other option would be Joey Ortiz, but at that point you're, I guess, recommitting yourself to Jorge Mateo, and Ortiz would maybe be the option if you make a decision on Jordan Westberg at some point in the coming weeks. Like that would be the guy that you would say, hey, we can play with that roster spot until we've fully committed to whatever it is that we're doing. I think the answer is that they're both likely, like both McKenna and Ortiz probably are back down. McKenna at first for Mullins, and then at some point they make a decision on Westberg. If they make a decision on Westberg, who in the world knows? Who knows? And then Dan tells me that Rock pointed out that perhaps they could start Irvin on Sunday because he only pitched
an inning last night or yesterday.
I mean, they could. And to the point, I guess. Why would you feel the need to skip a Bradish start?
Yeah.
Like, is it? Do you find the Mariners to be all that much? The Mariners or the Reds?
Scared of the Mariners, I guess.
So you'd start Irvin instead of starting him against the Reds, and the Reds are hot, so you don't want to. I don't know. I don't feel like all that differently about these two teams. The Mariners, you could still end up, competing with at some point this season. So you would argue those games are more important. So I would definitely have Bradish. I would start Bradish before I start Irvin on Sunday. Bradish is coming off a pretty good start, too. At the first time I would consider Irvin would be Monday, and that would only be the point of
just pushing Wells a day.
And if you didn't care about that this time, then why do you care about that the next time? Like, why is this suddenly the point at which you think one day makes the difference? Like, I think you're pitching Irvin because you have to, not because you want to, and I think you wait as long as you possibly can and think a little bit longer about whether or not you'd rather have Grayson Rodriguez make the start. I just, there's nothing about Cole Irvin that's saying to me I need that guy to be in the rotation. So I understand why you're bringing it up, but I don't see it. And then from Tony says, do you think at this point the Orioles are getting to a place where they could find some value in trading Aaron Hicks? If he's not going to be an everyday player when Cedric Mullins comes back, I wonder if they have raised his value enough that they could get a market for him to try to add one more prospect back into the system as they're trading away prospects to acquire other players. I don't know. I think that's a stretch.
Yeah.
I think it's a stretch, but
package him and O'Hearn.
Right. See what you can get for the duo. Let me pose it this way. I am not opposed to the Orioles doing the back and forth thing. I talked about that last summer, where I would have been okay with them both making the trades that they made and trying to acquire somebody that could be helpful to them.
Both last season and beyond.
I'm going to say the same thing now when it comes to if you are confident that Heston Kjerstad is your right fielder on opening day next season, and you want to start shopping Anthony Santander and figure out if somebody's willing to buy high, and you're looking to get a bat too, so you can be replenishing, hey, we think we can find a more natural first base bat, a middle-of-the-order bat in the trade market. We got to give something up for that. And that team's not going to want Anthony Santander, but another team might. And you can find a National League team that's interested in Santander that you could trade him to. I'm not opposed to doing both things to try to perfect the roster a little bit. And I'm not saying I'm rooting for them to trade Anthony Santander. I think Santander is a valuable piece, and you would only be able to do it if you acquired another legitimate bat at the deadline, and I'm not sure that they're going to do that. But I'm okay. Like, you can't trade Anthony Santander to find your more legitimate middle-of-the-order bat. Like, that doesn't work. The team that's bad, that's trying to give up their major league bat, is not interested in getting Santander back. But there could be another team that is interested in Santander and could help you as you've given up on prospects, replenish your system with guys that you like. That theory is logical to me. And I get what you're saying about Aaron Hicks. Once Mullins is back, what is his role? Well, they might think his role is playing some right field when Santander plays first base. Again, right now, you want O'Hearn in the lineup. I understand that. So it does very much come off like Aaron Hicks is just going to be a fourth outfielder. And that, look, there will be at-bats there. And if your thought process is, there might be a National League team that says, boy, if this is what Aaron Hicks is now, we'll give you a flyer on somebody, and it's just found money. Like, that's all it is we got a free prospect out of this thing. I understand why it sounds appealing to you. I don't know that. What is it now? 3 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 18 games. I think.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Maybe not even.
I don't know that 3 weeks worth of baseball is enough. That's going to make a team say, a guy that we could have had for free now suddenly we'll give you a prospect for. And if what they're offering you is their 26-year-old, if they're offering you their version of Spencer Watkins, you're not interested in that. You'd be interested in an international, an 18-year-old that is not registering on, prospect lists, that was an international signee that you think there might be a little bit more there, something that scratches the surface a little bit more. It's a long-winded way of me saying, like, I'm not telling you no. I just don't think it's practical. Like, I understand your theory. I don't know. I do think that you're going to improve your team by having Aaron. As I said before, unfortunately, there's probably going to be more injuries that occur. That's the nature of a baseball season. I think you've got a better team with Aaron Hicks right now as your fourth outfielder than you would with McKenna defaulting back to that role. I guess the bigger question is, how does Colton Cowser factor into this conversation? Because if Colton Cowser's also a priority for the Orioles right now, then you start doing that math and you do say to yourself, is there enough here to go around? And then again, if somebody's offering something of value, then you could sit back and say, we just, pulled off a steal here by getting anything at all.
Like flipping Karavedvik.
Yeah, correct. Again, you didn't really get anything for Karavedvik, but it was something for something that had no value to you whatsoever. Hour number 1 of today's show winding down. Still to come today, speaking of baseball, LaMonte Wade is going to join us, the former Terp, who's having an outstanding season with the Giants. And in just a few minutes, we're going to head to Aberdeen to chat. No, not to Aberdeen. He was at Aberdeen. Yeah. He's no longer at Aberdeen. He's at Bowie now. We're heading to Bowie to chat with Jud Fabian, who got off to a great start with Aberdeen and now has been called up to the AA level.
Great start with Bowie, too. He hit a home run last night.
Look at that. Yeah. Look at that. You like all of those things. That's all on the way as we continue along on a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Your summer destination is closer than you think at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. With an expansive gaming floor and incredible dining options ready for you to explore, your adventure awaits. Dine at the new Coho Korean Barbecue House coming in July or on the patio at the Prime Rib. Enjoy the summertime breeze at Orchid Smoking Patio. Limited time packages starting at $229. What are you waiting for? Book now. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The Orioles are off and running, out to prove that last season wasn't a fluke, and they are one of the best teams in baseball. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, host of the Bat Around for PressBox. Tune in every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon as Zach Goodman and I break down every Adley bomb, every Tony Tater, and every save from the mountain. Like a warm hug from Rutschman, the Bat Around has you covered with all things Orioles as we embark on what's sure to be a magical summer in Birdland. So tune in every Saturday for the best in Orioles coverage right here on the Bat Around.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
Just want to take a second here. It was exactly 1 year ago today that we lost Tony Siragusa. And, of course, it was exactly 1 year ago today that was one of the Saturdays in Ravens history, of course. As I think we all remember, feeling a pit in our stomach about the fact that, Jalen Ferguson had passed away, and then it led to Tony Siragusa passing away. And this print issue of Press Box is available right now. And 1 year later, Dave Ginsburg sort of sat down and dove into the legacy of Tony Siragusa. And this was a really important one for us, as we all, Stan, Charles, John Colson, and I, we all felt a personal connection with Tony Siragusa. And I felt like we had, kind of a responsibility almost to explain to those that are Griffin's age, younger, why it is that this person that, again, not a Hall of Famer, not a perennial Pro Bowl or anything like that, was so important to this city and to this franchise. And it's an amazing story, and Dave Ginsburg, wrote about that, but also about his legacy and how his family is keeping his legacy alive via the Goose Flights program. So I would really encourage you to get to your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of those hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox, or PressBoxOnline.com in order to read this print issue celebrating the life of Tony Siragusa, who passed away 1 year ago today. And so we reflect on that with this print issue of Pressbox, Remembering Goose, available right now. Before we get to Jud Fabian, I saw this. Remember... It's so funny to remember the era, it was only a couple of months ago, where every day was fueled by Lamar Jackson trade talk, and Lamar Jackson was just overwhelming.
There's a meter behind it.
Meter still sitting behind me that we have fun with. At one point, there was great discussion that the 49ers were the trade partner that you were looking for, because you could get Trey Lance back. You could get a quarterback that might be your guy, and then go from there. I don't know if you saw this week, but apparently, we've been thinking there might be some level of quarterback controversy in San Francisco. There's apparently no quarterback controversy. If Brock Purdy's not ready to go, Adam Schefter says Sam Darnold is the number 2 quarterback in San Francisco. The 49ers are so down on Trey Lance that he's not even their second quarterback. Apparently there was no trade market whatsoever for Trey Lance. Nobody was interested in trying to acquire him. And they are not enamored with him whatsoever. It's
to just pack it in already.
I don't know how much of it's packing it in. I mean, I guess it is. It has to be packing it in. Part of it is you think you've got your quarterback, right? After what you saw from Brock Purdy a year ago, you feel like you have your quarterback. And that's part of the reason why they shipped off Jimmy Garoppolo. I guess it's weird.
And it's easier to, bench Darnold no matter what he's doing.
Well, I mean, you're not benching Darnold.
Well,
like,
you're
you're saying even if you were to play well for a game or two,
Yeah.
I guess it would be easier to do that. Like if it was Lance, it creates a controversy. But I would still think that when you're a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, and the 49ers have, I think, every reason to have Super Bowl aspirations, that you would do everything in your power to put the best option out there to win football games if Brock Purdy's not ready, because in order to win the Super Bowl, you want to stockpile as many wins as you possibly can. It is wild on two fronts. It's wild that they are this committed to the last pick in the NFL draft. Now, again, Kurt Warner, there are examples of guys that were just missed. And everything that we saw from Brock Purdy, you kind of get it. He definitely looked the part. He didn't look like, and you can say he was put into a good situation, he was put into a good system, and they had lots of talent around him, and all of those things do matter. Like, unquestionably, I don't think that Brock Purdy would have looked the same way in Atlanta last season as he did in San Francisco. There's no doubt about that in my mind. But he looked the part. He didn't look like a guy. He didn't look like Trent Dilfer along for the ride. He looked like a guy that was capable of making plays. But that's an extraordinary amount of commitment to put towards that guy. If this really is just there's nothing there with Trey Lance. And then we talked about it when I was laughing at the idea of trading for Trey Lance. Like, you guys are worried about Lamar Jackson's availability. Trey Lance has played like 5 games in the last 4 years. I do wonder at what point that kind of becomes a factor, that at some point just the lack of football has led to him not being able to tap into athletically what we saw to be remarkable potential. But for those of you that were enamored with the idea of Trey Lance, perhaps be quite happy that the Ravens never felt the same way, because the 49ers don't think highly of Trey Lance at all. All right, a guy that we're thinking highly of. It's time for us to make our weekly trip down to Bowie to chat with a member of the Baysox. And this guy just got called up to the Baysox after a great start to the season in Aberdeen, and he's looking pretty good to start things off in Bowie as well. He is Orioles prospect Jud Fabian, and he's with us now here on GCR. Jud, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you as always, man. Thank you so much for taking some time for us.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me.
I guess the first part is like, dude, how fired up are you about Florida right now?
It's pretty awesome to see. I didn't get to watch the game yesterday because obviously we were playing.
Yeah, that silly thing where you had to do your job. Ridiculous how those things get in the way.
Yeah. But after the game, checked and saw they won and are headed to the Natty Champ. So it was definitely cool to see. Awesome to see.
It's pretty amazing. It's a pretty amazing run for them, and it's been a hell of a World Series. So we'll see how that plays out with LSU and Wake Forest playing another game tonight to determine who they play against. Jud, how good does it feel? You know, I know that this is the process, this is the way it works, but I imagine it's still nice when people recognize what it is that you're doing. When you get the phone call and you find out, hey, it's time to make that jump, what's that feeling like?
It's hard to describe, honestly. You know, you work your whole life to make it to the bigs, and then, you know, obviously in the minors, you work to get to that next level as quick as you can. And, you know, Sunday my manager told me that I was coming to Bowie, and it was just a great feeling downside.
One of the things that we've noticed the most since you arrived in the system is your eye at the plate, and that continued this year as at Aberdeen you were getting on base at a 392 clip. Can you tell me a little bit about where that came from, and you know how important it is to you to continue to be that guy on this path to the bigs?
Yeah, so it just all comes with work and practice every day. You know, taking BP, your BP thrower is not going to throw you strikes all the time. So just making sure you hit strikes when he throws it to you. Kind of working on that med ball type deal that we here at the Orioles do.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I think we've heard that a lot, but you know, those of us that are dummies or never played baseball at a high level, can you explain a little bit more about what that looks like?
Yeah, so like doing our work, batting practice, BP, stuff like that. Just putting a med ball on top of a bucket behind home plate. Kind of, you know, showing the middle of the zone, kind of not the corners, not pitchers' pitches. So we basically work really hard on swinging at balls that will hit the med ball, and taking balls that won't. And that's really helped me with my plate discipline, not only this year, but last year when I was in Delmarva and Aberdeen. It's really helped a lot, focusing on swinging at balls in the med ball.
Wow. I mean, it's paying off. That's for sure. The numbers don't lie. The patience at the plate. Do you ever find it, like, is it ever difficult for you? We know you were a huge power guy in college. And by the way, that was an impressive home run to start things off in Bowie. But do you ever find yourself, like, licking your lips, like, I want to swing at this pitch, but I know better. I know I'm not supposed to?
Sometimes, yeah. Especially with 2 strikes, it's kind of going to fight mode. And your zone can expand a little bit if you let it. So I try not to let it expand with 2 strikes, and just swing at pitches that are I'm able to drive.
So that part of your game, how confident do you feel? We know it's now 10 home runs between the 2 levels this season. The power part of things, how comfortable are you that you are continuing on the trajectory that everybody talks about as you go through the minors, that power is coming and you're going to show everybody that you are going to be a power hitter as a major leaguer?
I think it just goes back to work every day. I get to see my swing. I try to stay under control in BP. And power is going to come in the game when guys are throwing a little harder. Guys are spinning hangers in there. So I don't look at the power much. I know it's going to come. So just work on putting bat on ball.
He is Jud Fabian. He is with us here on GCR. Jud, we saw Bowie shared out the video of the throw, your hose, getting the dude at the plate in Altoona. What as an outfielder, like, I know you probably get excited about hitting home runs, but is there something like more electric than that as an outfielder? Like when you're able to do something like that, you kind of steal a run back the other way. Like, you're supposed to get big hits and hit home runs. Is there a better feeling than when you nail someone at the plate?
There's not many better feelings in baseball. Throwing a guy out or robbing a home run, making a diving catch, those are all very fun, and they don't happen too often. You don't get too many opportunities to do it, so when it happens, it's special for sure.
Now, so what is it about? Because we see hitters celebrate, but we never see much emotion from an outfielder when you throw somebody out at the plate. And to me, it's one of the most electric plays in all of baseball. Why do we not get the same sort of joy and emotion? Why is it always so nonchalant and like, yeah, I was supposed to do that when you throw somebody out at the plate?
That's a good question, honestly. I've never really thought of it.
But, dude, it's true. Like, it's like entrenched in the history of baseball that outfielders aren't supposed to celebrate when they throw somebody out at the plate. Like, we just see like a tip of the cap or, like, hey, man, I got you. That's all we ever see when, dude, the rest of us are losing our minds whenever we see a play like that.
Yeah, I think it's just excitement in your mind. It's never really physical. I don't know why that is or how that came about, but every time I throw someone out, it's just never like, all right, let's celebrate.
Right.
That's a good question.
I mean, I get it. You don't have like a bat to flip. Like, I understand that, there's not as many props, and you're probably not going to like toss your glove up in the air or something like that. But I just feel like it's more warranted than what we've seen in recent history of some sort of electric celebrate. I feel like we almost have to introduce like football celebrations to this. Like, at some point, you got to come up with like a throw a runner out at the plate dance that you can do.
Yeah. We should come up with that at some point.
You and I are starting this campaign. We're going to start the movement for outfielders to show more emotion when they throw somebody out at the plate, because it is something that I have thought about over and over and over again. I love it. It's my favorite play in baseball, and all we get back is like yeah, I got you. Like, what the hell, man? The Baysox are back home next week, starting on Wednesday night when they take on Somerset. Events next week include Wolf Wednesday Educator Appreciation Week, high school graduation celebrations, as well as Pride Night next Friday, and kids running the bases, fireworks, all sorts of great stuff going on. Of course, 4th of July celebrations, because it'll be the weekend ahead of the 4th of July. All that happening. Go to Baysox.com right now in order to find out more. Jud, the vibe within this organization, like some guys that we talked to arrived when things were bleak. Like, you knew when you got here how things were already turning. But being in this organization now for the better part of a full year, how can you describe what it's like to be a part of this thing right now as everything is starting to come to fruition? And I imagine you guys are thinking like, hey, there's a real shot for me to win a World Series here in a couple of years.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Getting drafted, coming in, it just seeing the talent that the Orioles have in the system, and even at the big league level right now, it's really good to see. There's a lot of good baseball being played, and there's also good human beings. I haven't met a guy who's not friendly in this organization, if that makes sense. Everyone's really easy to talk to, and they're also great baseball players. So you mix those two things together, it's going to be hard to be on the baseball field.
It feels like that kind of speaks to like a culture thing, right? That it's not just winning, but there's like a culture of I don't know, pleasantness, something like that exists within this organization.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, everyone I've met from if there's guys in AAA who I met at spring training, or guys who I've been with here in Bowie and Aberdeen this year, and even guys in Delmarva from spring training, it just speaks volume to the guys that the front office of the Orioles signs. It's fun. You go into every clubhouse, you're going to have fun. You're going to laugh. You're going to get nice guys. So it's just awesome to see.
Who are the guys that you've connected with the most?
I think most of the draft guys that got drafted last year,
Sure.
I've been with them the most. So that's why I would say I'm closer to them. Probably Dylan Beavers, Max Wagner, Trace Bright, Silas Ardon, Doug Hodo, Jackson, obviously, all the guys like that.
By the way, can you describe how nuts it is? Like, I know you're not like 8 years older than he is, but you are a few years older than he is. How insane is it how easy everything seems to come for that kid?
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually got to watch him when he was in high school. He played travel ball with my brother, so I got to watch him in high school, and going down to some tournaments to watch him, I was like, wow, this kid's really good. Now seeing him in pro ball just do it with such ease, it's crazy. Yes. And he's also just a great human being who, in the dugout, a good guy to have in the dugout and clubhouse. So that's tough to mix, but he's very good at both.
Here's the important question: who's the best? We've asked this question to a few guys in the system. Who's the best S talker? Who's the guy that's the best at getting people riled up from the dugout and all that? Who's the best S talker?
Ooh, that is a pretty good question. I haven't been around many guys on the Bowie team yet to know that.
Okay. Who was it in Aberdeen?
That's a good question. Everyone basically just was going at it. Yeah, that's a tough one to pick one person.
All right. I'll let you off the hook on that one. Tell me about 19 stolen bases. Tell me about how much of a priority that was for you coming into this season, and again, how is it so easy? Like, how is it? Is it giant oven mitts? Is it what is it making it so easy? And do you find yourself saying, dude, if I get on first base, I know I'm on second base immediately. That's just the way it's going to work.
Yeah, this year I just wanted to kind of tap into my speed a little bit, and obviously get in the scoring position for whoever the next hitter in the lineup was. That's a huge part of scoring runs, is getting in the scoring position. So basically focus on that in all spring training. And then obviously during the season, pitchers have different tendencies on when they're going to pick. They only get 3 picks, 3 pickoff attempts, and if they don't get you on the third, it's a balk, so you get second regardless.
Yeah.
So we kind of know, like, if they pick once or twice in an AB, then they probably won't pick again because they don't want to give you a free bag. So basically stuff like that. Finding, what the time the pitcher is to the plate. Most of the guys in Aberdeen were, 1.5, 1.6 to home. So that's a pretty decent time to steal on. And so far here in Bowie, the 3 games we've played, everyone's been pretty quick to the plate. So we're going to have to find different tendencies to run on. So
maybe not quite as easy as it was when you had a little bit more time to work on it. It's funny. Do you have in your mind like a number? If this guy is 1.5, then I know I can get the base.
Yeah, I think it also depends on, if there's something they do right before they pick up and go to home.
Okay.
So,
okay.
If they lift their head and then go home, I'll look at the head. And if they lift their head, I'll take off and kind of get that extra second so I could get in there. But, yeah, it's, I'd say around 1.4, 1.5,
okay,
is kind of where I'd go.
And then lastly, what do we need to know about you, Jud Fabian? Like, give me an idea of like a Monday, an off day. What's going on in your world? What are you into besides baseball? Give us the whole rundown on you.
On Mondays, it's really relaxing. Just taking a day off, spending it with my wife, going to, walk around, cooking food, stuff like that. Just spending time with her because she travels everywhere to watch me play.
That's cool. That's cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's a very cool.
Just spending time with her on the off day.
All right. You watch any movies, any shows, anything like that?
We don't watch many movies. Definitely watch some sports if they're on Mondays. Watch the O's play if they play on Monday.
Okay. All right.
Play card games. Teaching her a few card games. So.
What's your go-to? Like when you and your family would get together, what's the go-to card game?
Me and my family get together. It's this game that is called poker. It's a pretty popular one.
I've heard of it. I'm familiar.
Yeah, we definitely play a bunch of poker.
How competitive are you?
I'm pretty competitive, but my whole family is probably more competitive when it comes to card games.
Really?
No one likes to lose, so those poker games get heated.
At the height of my poker playing days, my eternal problem was after like an hour, I would just get bored and go all in on a stupid hand. I'd just be like, can't we just do something else? And I would throw all in on just the dumbest hand ever and see if I could get away with it. They'd be like, yeah, you just lost $50. I'd be like, well, yeah, but at least I can go do something else now. I've had enough of this. Jud Fabian, it's great to catch up with you. It's at Jud Fab on Twitter, right? That's where everybody can give you a follow?
Yep.
All right.
Sir.
Give him a follow there. Congratulations on the success that you've been finding, dude. Thank you for spending a couple of minutes with us. May it continue for you all season long and moving forward. Appreciate you doing this.
Thank you guys for having me.
Jud Fabian, the Bowie Baysox, after he got called up from Aberdeen, having a very good season and, as pointed out, already had a home run. I got to get to the bottom of that. Why don't outfielders celebrate more? Like, why is it that we're allowed to celebrate? Like, we've let hitters celebrate home runs. Pitchers, like, we now see at least a little bit of celebration, right? We see the pose from Yennier Cano, things like that. Why do we not ever see it from?
I think Fernando Tatis, got somebody, I don't know if it was at the plate or on the bases sometime, because he's been playing right field. And I think he did like a little holster.
Somebody else had somebody else did that in the past, and I like that. But I want more. I want more creativity. I feel like this is a great opportunity.
Completely, just show up.
Dude,
the guy that you got
it's an electric play. You know what I didn't ask? I wonder if at the major league level, guys are worried it's going to be overturned, so they don't want to celebrate it because like every play is so close.
I mean, at this point, the replays we've seen.
Well, I mean, the thing this week was a joke. The Texas-Chicago thing was absurd. I mean, that is utterly ridiculous.
Jonaheim hit a home run. Speaking of celebrations, he hit a home run yesterday. So then as he was running the bases, he went, "Should we review it? Should we review it?" He was.
I can't blame him for that. I really can't. Like, that's pretty good. But I just feel like I want more outfielder celebrations. I want more personality in baseball on the whole. And, like, I love seeing it, like, the college level, like, guys, when they make good catches, they are fired up. They are jumping up and down. But at the major league level, it's like, it's I'm supposed to do this. Again, all you get is, like, the tip of the cap from the pitcher. You don't ever get the celebration.
They don't want to get drilled.
But they're willing to celebrate home runs. And they're supposed to do that, too. Why are we only allowed to celebrate home runs? Why can't we celebrate other cool things during the course of games? Jud Fabian and I are going to fix this.
Maybe like they're kind of caught so off guard, like when they make a great play in the field, they're just kind of like, I just do that?
Dude, you got it. Our reaction when you gun someone down at the plate, it's a cool play, right? Like, it's an exciting play in a baseball game, is throwing somebody out at the plate. I feel like it warrants more celebration than what it gets. Now, maybe part of the problem is you're thinking about the fact that, like, if it happened on a base hit, there's still another runner on base or something like that, and you're not out of the inning or whatever. But I don't know, man. I'm team. Let's enjoy gunning down somebody down at the plate more. I'm Glenn Clark, and I approve this message situation. I want to see more of it. LaMonte Wade's a first baseman, so we can't really ask him about it because he's not going to be gunning anybody down at the plate.
He might, like a bunt or something.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing. That's not That's not an electric play. That's a throw from the outfield. Getting somebody at the plate is an electric play within the sport. We all appreciate it. Next time we have another outfielder on, we're keeping this campaign going. I want us to exclusively talk to outfielders for the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
All right.
I think tomorrow we do have an outfielder.
All right, we're gonna deal with that. We're gonna talk. I want to know more. Why don't outfielders celebrate big throws? Do it. Fix this. All right. Still to come today, as I mentioned, we will chat with LaMonte Wade. In fact, why don't we do that next? How about we catch up?
Do it right now?
No. We can take a break.
Side. Okay. I got to make sure I want to make sure I didn't play the wrong thing here.
Not if I meant now, I would say now.
Okay.
Next normally means.
Oh, okay. Well, you're teasing. Next is a tease.
Hey, man, Griffin's only been around for well over a year. Can understand why we're still.
Well, I mean, it was close. It was kind of
working
close,
out the kinks.
Just the cadence I was picking up on.
It's no cadence there.
Well, I can kind of tell.
I would set it up
when we're thrown to a break.
Is how Griffin's also giving away the fact that we pre-recorded with LaMonte Wade. Top of
we're calling him right now?
Oh, God. Remember what I was saying about 4-day weeks? Maybe make it 3 days. Maybe a nice 3-day week for the summer.
Just want to make sure I was doing
until football comes back. We can handle about 3-day weeks. Coming up, former Terp, Baltimore native, Giants first baseman LaMonte Wade. We'll check in with him. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Dave Ginsburg remembers Goose as he looks back on the impact that late Tony Saragusa had both on and off the field here in Baltimore. Plus, he explains how Goose's kids are working to continue that legacy with the Goose Flights program. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles the path Tyler Wells has taken to becoming a star in the Orioles rotation. And you'll find a special summer travel guide with information about events and activities throughout the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
Your summer destination is closer than you think at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. With an expansive gaming floor and incredible dining options ready for you to explore, your adventure awaits. Dine at the new Coho Korean Barbecue House coming in July or on the patio at the Prime Rib. Enjoy the summertime breeze at Orchid Smoking Patio. Limited time packages starting at $229. What are you waiting for? Book now. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we can continue along on a Thursday edition of the program. Orioles off, back in action tomorrow, back at home. And by the way, this is a cool little 6-game stretch with these two teams with exciting young, like, here's what I would point out. The thing that we were talking about before where, like, you would like to see some different teams get some attention, the next week is more deserving of, like, it's a shame that the only time the Orioles are able to get national attention is, like, when they go play in New York because that's where the national writers live or whatever. Because these two series for baseball would kind of be good to give a little bit more focus to because it's exciting. I get the Mariners are a little disappointing this year. They're only like 2 games under 500. It's not like they couldn't be 2 weeks away from playing good baseball and getting right back into the playoff mix in the American League. And Julio Rodriguez is Julio Rodriguez. And then obviously the Reds are, an excellent story. So this to me is a sneaky, exciting little stretch, a little homestand for the Orioles of good, young, budding superstars. Adley Rutschman versus Julio Rodriguez. Gunnar Henderson versus Ellie De La Cruz. Like, there's some really exciting subplots to the next week. Who's the closer in Cincinnati that's been killing it this season?
Alexis Diaz.
Alexis Diaz versus Felix Bautista, right?
He's perfect in his save opportunities.
There's probably 2 most exciting closers in all of baseball squaring off next week. I get that that's still a few days away, and the Reds had another come-from-behind win yesterday. They were down 3-0 later in the game to the Colorado Rockies and ended up rallying to win that one as they have just been, I think, what's now 13 of 15 since.
Something like that. I think that's right. It's 11 in a row.
11 in a row, and I think they're 13-2 since calling up De La Cruz. So just a unique. I get it. The Mariners are not sexy right now, but this is still Julio Rodriguez. It's still a good young core in Seattle, and I do still think that they can, that division is tougher than I think people realized it was going to be. I still think that there is room there for the Mariners to have a stretch of good baseball ahead of them and be a part of the conversation this season. I just think it's a sneaky good homestand that we're coming up on.
It's always funny, these win streaks, because the Giants, they're on a 10-game win streak.
Yeah, we're about to talk to LaMonte Wade, right?
Yeah. And I feel like I had heard nothing about it because the Reds they're on a 1-game better win streak right now.
Well, but the Reds have Ellie De La Cruz. Like, the Reds are the sexy, exciting team because they have a young superstar that everybody is clamoring. In the Giants
have passed the Dodgers.
The Dodgers, it's more of like there's still the crazy story in the National League West is the Diamondbacks. Like, that's the story out there. But to the point, the Giants are back within
they are within 2.5 of Arizona.
2.5 of Arizona.
Yeah.
And
game up on the Dodgers.
It's been a great stretch, obviously, for them. It's been an outstanding stretch. They just don't have, a sexy young superstar.
LaMonte Wade.
Well, I mean, LaMonte Wade's been a big part of it. There's no doubt. Like, LaMonte, and again, we're about to talk to him, which is it's totally live, and we're just waiting for the phone call, and definitely not something we had to record yesterday afternoon. Although it's, he's on the West Coast, so you guys probably can't be all that surprised that we had to pre-record this one. So, in fact, I think he actually references the win streak, but then remembers as he's referencing it that we were recording for the next day, and so he said something like, 9, 10, whatever it is. You'll hear that during the conversation. Yeah, I mean, the Giants are exciting, but they're not coming to Baltimore, so that kind of doesn't matter for us. My point is, like, it's a great week to get out to the ballpark for baseball. Like, these are not the traditional teams that would draw big crowds as opponents when they come to town to play the Orioles. But to me, like, obviously, I think next week really shapes up for an exciting few days where your kids are out of school. You know, take them to the ballpark one night next week, and that's a really neat opportunity to see, again, one of the biggest phenomenons in baseball and one of the hottest teams against an Orioles team that's worth going out to support. So sneaky good homestand was the point that I was trying to make. Now, live right now. We did have to record this yesterday afternoon because, you know, he is out on the West Coast. But always appreciate the opportunity to catch up with a Baltimore native and a man who feels very strongly about the new head coach of the University of Maryland baseball program. He is former Terp LaMonte Wade right here on GCR. Well, it's a pleasure to have our next guest back with us here on GCR. The last time we chatted with him was back when he was more known as Late Night Lamont. Now he's Leadoff Lamont. He is a Baltimore native, Giants first baseman, and he a Terp most importantly, because he's going to tell us about someone that means a whole lot to him. He is LaMonte Wade, and he's back with us on GCR. Lamont, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's good to catch back up with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
It's really good to chat with you, dude, and it's amazing to see you continue to kill it, even when it comes at the expense of the Orioles, because thankfully we got 2 out of 3 anyway, so we can be all right with that. Lamont, I remember catching up with you a couple years ago after your big breakout season, and I remember I had no idea. I was just talking to you about who mattered so much to you, and you brought up Matt Swope's name very quickly and frequently. Now, of course, Matt has taken over. He's the new head coach at Maryland Baseball. I wanted to revisit it. For people that don't know, can you explain to everybody just what Matt Swope means to you personally and all of the success that you have found in this sport?
Cool. I mean, I owe Matt Swope almost everything, you know. I mean, just the fact that what we were able to do in 2021 after, especially my first year, after debuting in 19 and being up and down in 20, you know, I wasn't really in a good spot at the plate and really on defense as well. But it was just, you know, just really lost at the plate. And all it took was, you know, reaching out back to Swope, and he got me back on track. We met up that off season 2021. We hit all off season together. You know, we were able to fix some things and just talk about the game. And you know, I contributed that whole season. And my success right there to find Swope. You know, if it wasn't for him, I don't think we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now.
Wow.
You know, so I mean, you know, I owe everything to Swope. Love the guy, and I'm just excited for him and what he's going to do for the University of Maryland.
Can you flush that through a little bit more for me? Because I feel like when we were starting to hear that Coach Vaughn might be moving on, everyone in this community said, well, it's a bummer, but it's okay because we know who the guy is. Can you explain what Matt Swope means to this community? Not just like guys that went to Maryland, but, you know, I was talking to Troy Stokes, who never played at Maryland, and how much Matt Swope means to him, right? Like, anybody from this area, what Matt Swope means to the baseball community here.
Yes. Well, first off, like you said, I am happy for Coach Vaughn, and I wish him nothing but the best. Coach Vaughn has been nothing great to me and my family as well throughout the whole time I was at the University of Maryland. Even when I go back in the offseason, I would always talk to Coach Vaughn as well. He was always good to me and taught me a lot as well, and I wish him nothing but the best. I'll always be in touch with Coach Vaughn, but when he left, I knew it was a no-brainer. I knew Coach Swope was gonna be the guy. You know, he's been there. He's Maryland through and through. Like, he's like the perfect example of a representation of Maryland, University of Maryland, and what it means to play for the University of Maryland baseball team. I mean, he played there, he coached there, and he's been there the whole time. He's just loyal to the University of Maryland. He could have been taken away. He could be in the big leagues as a hitting coach right now, or in a pro system right now. But he turned it all down because he knew where he wants to be, and that's at the University of Maryland. And I feel like, wow, these guys who are going to get to play now at the University of Maryland are going to be lucky and blessed to have him as their coach. I mean, he's he's going to give it his all, and he's going to put everything that he can into it, and he's going to get the most out of his players. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited for him. I'm very excited for the program. I think the program's only going up since I've left, so they made it. They had another good run this year, had another great team. They shattered all the records and everything. Just couldn't get past the Wake Forest team, that strong team. But we're definitely on the right path. And with Coach Swope at the head now, I mean, I think we're only going to keep getting better and better.
He is LaMonte Wade. He is with us here on GCR. LaMonte, you referred to a couple of things in there that stand out to me, and I think the one is the passion for Maryland. And
yes.
I wonder, and it's not to take anything away from not only Coach Vaughn but Coach Sheff, but it's a little bit different as someone who cares so deeply about this place. As you pointed out, wasn't just looking for another job, has turned down other opportunities, and I think there's reason to think might turn down other opportunities in the future if there's success. Right. Do you believe that could lead to another level of passion and, for all of the good things that Maryland baseball has done, to close that gap, to get to Omaha, to get to a College World Series? Do you feel like that passion and how much he cares about this place could be a difference maker for this program in the coming years?
100%. I see this hire as, just the DMV. There's so many great baseball players that come out of the DMV that you look on TV and you see these guys are at other big name schools around the country. Whereas I see as that now is not being the case. I feel like with the Swope hire, like all the homegrown talent is going to stay home. Like he's so passionate about the DMV. He's from the DMV, lives in the DMV, has his family there. So I feel like that's going to be a great thing for the University of Maryland as well. But like you said, the passion that he brings, like he bleeds like University of Maryland. Like it's not fake. It's completely real. He's not only the head baseball coach, but he cares about the community. He cares about the other sports teams on campus. He cares about the academics. He's always going to care about the academics and everything else within the community. So I mean, it's special, and like you said, it's just different. Coach Vaughn and Coach Sheff, they have passion as well. But it's just something different when, it's home. It's his hometown. It's his alma mater where he's had records and he had success and where he's coached for so long to now to take over to be the head coach. I feel like, it's just all coming complete circle and coming together. And I think he's going to give it his all. I know he's going to give it his all. And I think we're going to see great things coming out of the University of Maryland, even greater things, because a lot of positive has been coming out there lately, but I think it's just going to take it to the next step.
Obviously, to your point, winning the Big Ten tournament this year was a very big deal. Back-to-back regular season titles in the conference, tons of success. LaMonte, can you tell us a little bit, maybe a story about how your relationship began, or if there's one, particular story that means a lot to you about a conversation that you had or a time that you guys got together? Is there a story that means something to you when it comes to your relationship with Coach Swope?
Oh, there's a lot, but there's one, and I think he would like it. It was I think I was a freshman. It was my freshman year, and I was in the outfield at the beginning, and there was a time where it was in the winter. It was in the fall where it was snow and everything on the ground, and we were outside doing outfield drills, and I wasn't really giving it my all, and he threw a ball and he got on me, and then then he kicked me out of practice.
Wow.
And then after practice, he came to my locker and he found me and we talked, and he kind of explained as to why he's so hard on me, and it's because it was out of love, not out of anger or anything like that. It was just all out of love, and that he wanted to get the most out of me because he believes in me and he believes that I had a future. I had a future in this game past college. And that really opened my eyes, and that really, from then on, it was like anything he said I would do. And it was like, it was just this form of I gained enormous amount of trust from him, and I just completely trusted him and believed in him. And from there on, he really kind of changed my mindset and changed my attitude towards practice and how to approach the game. And honestly, if that wouldn't have happened, I don't know if I would be here today. and that's just one story from Swope, and I got plenty more. But it's like
bro,
that's the one that really stuck out.
Yeah,
that's the one that really stuck out.
That's powerful. I mean, like that's a really powerful story about how a relationship was built and how that trust came together. And a guy that, I remember being that age, and I would not have maybe been so cool with someone that kicked me out of practice. I might have had an issue for some time. That's a powerful thing. LaMonte Wade is with us here on GCR. LaMonte, since I have you, not a lot of dudes play first base and get on base at a 400 clip. We knew you were a talented player, but this is a whole different level to your game. Where did this come from with the patience at the plate and fighting to get on base at an absurd clip the way you have been this season?
I honestly think I contribute that to my health. Last year with the knee, I wasn't really able to, get into my legs and do everything that me and Swope worked on in the off season. I wasn't really able to do it had the restriction with the knee. But I feel that this year with the off season I had with the strength and conditioning program I had this off season, with the rehab program I did this off season, on top of what I did with Swope all off season, I feel like it's just all coming together, and with the health and everything I did with Swope this off season, I feel like putting those two things together is what's allowing me to have some success right now. And just want to try to keep that going and just take it one day at a time, one pitch at a time, and just trying to, not let one AB linger into the next AB, and just know that after one AB, you're going to get 4 more. And then if you don't get it that day, just got to come back tomorrow. So it's just really a tribute to the health and what I did with Swope and the mental side.
I think it's important what you just said there, because I think people need to hear that. You had that success. You became this phenomenon, and yet you still come back home, and you're still spending time, and you and Matt Swope are still getting together even beyond that success that you found at the major league level.
Oh yeah, it never stops. It never stops, and I feel like you don't really ever find anything. I feel like you're always just making adjustments to try and get better and better each and every time, and just be more consistent. We're just trying to find a move that I can be comfortable with, that I'll be safe with the body, but also just be able to be repeatable. That's the main thing. Is that I'm just trying to be repeatable and as consistent as I can be within my move offensively, and other than that, the results will be the results. So. But yeah, every off season it doesn't change. I come back home, and actually when I called Swope to congratulate him about the head coaching job, the first thing he said was, "Nothing changes."
Man,
nothing changes.
Man,
and I already knew that, because that's just the type of guy he is. Family man. He's a loyal man, and I'm just very excited for him, and I'm just excited for the University of Maryland program.
That's so cool. That's so cool. What'd you think of you seeing the Orioles for a couple of days? The good news is you don't have to see much more of them. You don't have to compete against them. But pretty special thing that's been building over here, huh?
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. They're a fun, exciting team. They're very talented. They're well coached. They play the game the right way, and they got some young guys over there who can really play. That was on full display, and it's as a fan, I guess you would say from afar, it's really cool to see the team doing well, because anytime there's the Orioles and the local Baltimore sports teams and Ravens doing well, it's always good for the community and for the city of Baltimore. So that's always great to see. So I wish those guys nothing but success and a good year. So it was definitely cool to see them though, because I've never played them before professionally. Yeah. So it is cool to get to play other teams, but also to play your hometown team. So that was special, and look forward to next year coming and playing at Oriole Park.
Yeah, we're worried that you might be targeting the warehouse at that point. We're worried. We saw Gunnar nearly get it a couple weeks ago. We're worried that when you show up here in Baltimore, because we've seen the McCovey shots, we're worried you might be taking aim. We're hoping that one day we see in the other orange and black. We're hoping that still comes together at some point. LaMonte, I know it's LaMonte Wade Jr. on Twitter. Is there anything that we can plug for you that you have going on?
No, I honestly don't really have too much going on. Just my family's here in town right now. We're getting ready to play the Padres tonight. We're just in a good spot right now. We got a good thing going right now. I think we won a few games in a row. I don't know what it is, but we got a good streak going right now. So no, I can't complain. Everything's going well right now.
That's awesome. Well, obviously the season you're putting together, dude. 47 walks, 49 strikeouts to start this season. That is bonkers, dude. It's so cool to see your success continue, man. And obviously, we like Matt Swope a whole lot, too. He's a great dude, so we're just as excited as you are about that. Really appreciate you taking the time for us, LaMonte. Congratulations on more success, and look forward to chatting with you again down the road, all right?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I love you. Just love the show and appreciate it.
Very kind of him to say that. Thank you, LaMonte Wade. Wish everybody would say that when they wrap up. I love you. Love the show. Love it. Wish everybody would do that. That'd be great. Thank you to LaMonte Wade for taking the time for us. Obviously, you can see how much Matt Swope means to him and the reason why it is that everybody's so hopeful about what the next era of Maryland baseball could bring and perhaps even taking a step forward. So we will see. All right. You know what I wanted to do? Have you played the MLB Immaculate Grid that is sweeping the nation?
No.
Okay, so baseball fans are freaking out about this, and I realize because I played it for the first time yesterday, I am not I'm struggling. So the way it works is you have to fill a grid that it's literally like Wordle. Like it's the same for everybody every day. There's one game. So if your players are planning on playing, we're going to play it right now on the air. So you have to match two things. So like today, the first box is you have to find a player who played for both the Boston Red Sox and the Cincinnati Reds. Then you have to match somebody who played for both the Red Sox and the Padres. Then you have to match someone who played for the Red Sox and won a World Series. Then the next line, Phillies, Reds, Phillies, Padres, Phillies, World Series champ. Then the last one is more random. Someone who hit 40 home runs that played for the Reds. Someone who hit 40 home runs that played for the Padres. Someone that hit 40 home runs that won a World Series. So let's start. The idea is you have to go 9 for 9. You can't miss any. So I'll go first because I'm pretty confident that Bronson Arroyo played for both the Red Sox and the Reds. So that'll be my first one. Bronson Arroyo, I'll put that there. And indeed, and it even tells you that 35% of people have guessed Bronson Arroyo to fill that box.
Interesting.
So again, these are the boxes. You can pick which one you want to fill, which one you're comfortable
so
with.
it's 40 home runs and he played for the Reds.
40 home runs that played for the Reds, 40 home runs that played for the Padres, or 40 home runs and won a World Series.
So did Jesse Winker hit 40 home runs?
Well, how confident are you?
I'm pretty confident. Or Eugenio Suarez also hit 40.
Well, what do you want to do? You tell me.
I think Jesse Winker did it, didn't he?
Is that you're asking me?
Well, I mean, I thought
this is your. Oh, you want to do this together?
I thought we were.
I don't remember if Jesse Winker.
Oh, we're not doing it together. We're going.
We can do it together. I thought we were going back and forth, but like, we can do it together if you want.
Can I see the grid again?
There's the grid.
All right, so we got a Red Sox. He was on the Red Sox and the Padres.
Yeah.
So like Franchy Cordero.
Does Franchy Cordero play for both the Red Sox and the Padres? I didn't. I gotta be honest with you. I did not know that. Franchy Cordero, indeed. 0.5% of people have used Franchy Cordero.
That should be the goal of this game. You want to have this lowest percentage and get a player.
I don't. This one is the easiest on me. A Red Sox World Series champion. I'll go ahead
Mookie
and just
Betts.
Yeah, I'll just say David.
I guess if you're thinking you don't want to reuse a guy or use a guy in an easy category.
I mean, I guess, but I went ahead and popped in David Ortiz there. So there's David Ortiz.
So
now
Philly and a Red.
Well, you can go anywhere. You don't have to fill the next one. We've just gone in order.
You should have done. I guess we should have done. Just a 40 home run World Series champion.
Yeah, it could be for any team.
Okay, so like, I'm going to back off that one.
Okay, I mean,
a Phillies World Series champion, Chase Utley.
Chase Utley definitely would be a Phillies World Series champion. That's again a very easy category. Utley, we'll go ahead and pop that in there. A guy who hit 40 home runs, any guy who hit 40 home runs and won a World Series. It does seem like it's probably the easiest category in the history of
I'm
this.
I'm overthinking it now.
But I'll put in Babe Ruth.
Okay. So wait, it didn't have to be the season that he
No,
hit 40.
he just had to hit 40 home runs and win a World Series. That makes you qualified. You have to have done both things.
Why can't I think of a Red
we're 5 for
and
5.
a Philly? A Red and a Philly. Or a Philly and a Padre.
I have somebody that I think, maybe
a Philly and a Padre. Like that seems like it should be. No, Trey Turner was a Dodger.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be much easier. I might just go. You can if you have one.
I don't. I don't know.
All right, Cincinnati Reds and a Philly.
Well, you could also try to phone somebody a Red who hit 40 home runs in a season, or a Padre that hit 40 home runs in a season.
Again, I'm pretty confident Suarez and Winker both did.
Well, which one do you want to go with?
Let's go with Winker. Jesse Winker.
Boy, if you ruin our immaculate grid. Jesse Winker did not hit 40 home runs. You have ruined our immaculate grid.
So what, we just lose now?
Well, we can't finish it. No, we won't be able to finish the grid. Thanks a lot, Griffin. Thanks a lot.
So you can't guess again for that?
I think
spot?
you can, yeah.
Suarez?
Yeah. Oh, boy. If you go. All right, Suarez was correct. 9% of people said Suarez.
Should have picked Suarez.
We're not going to be able to finish the grid, but I will try anyway. I believe Mariano Duncan played for both the Reds and the Phillies. And I was correct. And by the way, 0.1% of people guessed Mariano
Duncan.
Duncan.
That one.
So,
a 40 home run Padre.
Do you want to take a stab here? Do you want to?
Who hit 40 home runs for the Padres, or they just hit 40 home runs and played for the Padres?
Yeah, I don't think it had to be somebody who hit 40 home runs for the Padres. I think it's somebody who hit 40 home runs and was a Padre.
Padres sluggers.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I blanking on Padres sluggers? Ramon Reyes never hit 40.
I don't remember him hitting 40, but
I don't think he did.
I was going to say Fred McGriff.
Did he hit 40? Yeah.
I don't know if he had a 40 home run season or not. That's the problem. What's his face? Did Greg Vaughn play for the Padres at one point?
Let me look it up.
No, we're not cheating.
I don't know.
The question I can't come up with is, can Caminiti hit 40 home runs with the Padres? And I don't know. Did Greg Vaughn play for the Padres?
I don't know.
All right, we're going McGriff.
Okay.
McGriff, final answer.
Go with Fred McGriff.
Fred McGriff. We went 0 for 2 on that. Damn.
We're bad with our 40 home run guys.
We really struggled there. And they won't let you, once you got the 9 guesses, you can't. You can only guess up to 9. So we went 7 for 9 on our Immaculate Grid. Just search, it's immaculategrid.com is the website. I guess you could do it over there if you want to. You feel the need to try to fill those 2 final boxes that we didn't fill. But it's sort of like Wordle. You'll be addicted to it for like 2 weeks. You'll do it every.
Not even.
I don't know. 2 weeks I think is a good. You'll do it every day, and then you'll never do it again. You'll say, I was wasting my time. What was I doing? But it'll be fun for those 2 weeks while it distracts you. I have heard suggestions of people trying to do them for other sports.
Greg Vaughn was indeed a Padre and did 40 home runs.
Damn it. I can't believe Fred McGriff never hit 40 home runs. That's crazy. And then it's somebody who played for the Padres and the Phillies. Yikes. Why am I struggling with somebody who played for the Padres and the Phillies? Why is that one?
That doesn't seem like it should be hard. Let's see. God.
This is weird that this is such an issue for me.
It's because the Padres are just so out there.
Yeah, unless you're paying attention, you're not paying attention. I understand what you're saying. Like, I there's no easy way to define it, but, like, they kind of live in their own...
Did Heath Bell pitch for the Phillies?
That sounds like somebody that would have pitched for both those teams. Yes.
You want to go with it?
Yes. Guess Heath Bell.
It was not Heath Bell.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Darn it. Heath Bell.
Somebody who played for the Padres and the Phillies.
Did Kimbrel never pitch for the Padres? No.
I don't remember.
No, I don't think he did. Like closers.
Now you got to think about, was there ever a trade between those? That's the easiest way to answer this. Can you think of a trade between those teams?
A Padre and a Philly.
Hey.
This is a good game. You're
this
right.
is. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, you're going to end up. Okay. I might be crazy. In fact, I don't even want to say it out loud because I'm going to end up. Did John Kruk end up in San Diego?
I don't really know.
Well, that was before you. I understand that.
I spelled John Kruk.
K-R-U-K.
That's why.
Kruk.
Maybe I spelled John wrong.
Oh, he didn't. Oh, yeah. I mean, okay. Go. You can. It's correct.
Oh, okay.
It's correct.
Yeah,
but
John
it wasn't.
Kruk?
He didn't end
John
up.
Kruk?
He started in San Diego. I don't know why.
Where's John
I thought
Kruk now? He was doing.
He was doing games for the Phillies. I don't know if he's still doing games at all. If he's doing broadcasts for the Phillies, but there you go. Immaculate Grid. ImmaculateGrid.com.
New segment on the show. Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna do it every day. Although we can introduce it to Stan tomorrow. He'll have some fun with that. ImmaculateGrid.com. And now the race will be like with Wordle, where there were like 60 others immediately afterwards. There was the naughty Wordle. I don't even remember what these things are called because I've already forgotten them.
You had like Jakob Podol. You had Podol for the
Oh,
NBA.
right,
yes.
correct.
And then they had
Like,
Weddle for
yes,
the NFL.
There will immediately be
Pickle for MLB.
Oh, was that what it was called?
Yeah, the MLB Pickle.
That's not bad. I guarantee there will be ones like this for football and basketball and things like that that'll pop up. But Immaculate Grid is the one that's gotten the attention this week as for baseball. Want to go ahead and get a tidbit? Let's get.
I did do fighting words.
Fighting words. Sure, we can do fighting words. Why not?
Right.
There's not really a whole lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, MMA world, I guess.
Is there?
Yeah,
I mean,
well, you had a. Do I want to spoil?
All right, just hit the open. Go ahead. We'll do it.
Oh, almost hit the movie reviews. Don't want that.
No, we don't want that.
It's Fighting Words with Griffin Bass.
I genuinely don't know what's going on in the. What did I miss that was significant?
Well, Francis Ngannou and John Jones had a
Well,
stare
I
down
saw
at the
that,
PFL event.
Do we think that's a thing?
I mean, I think it's at least kind of notable. Nothing's going to happen anytime soon. But it is kind of.
We do know that John has wanted a Ngannou fight.
Yeah.
I guess
it was kind of nice to it was kind of a little bit of a middle finger to Dana White because John Jones,
and look,
his UFC heavyweight champion is decked out in PFL gear, PFL hat.
And Connor's still under contract with the UFC,
Yes.
and Connor showed up at he showed up at the
Bare Knuckle.
Bare Knuckle. That's
the
what
Bare
it was. It's a
Knuckle
little bit
boxing
different.
or Bare Knuckle
Look, I'm not opposed to giving Dana White a middle finger. I just until I see something that viably like. If John Jones is sort of saying out loud, I'm going to do one more UFC fight, and then I'm going to come over here so I can get a Ngannou fight, like, at least that gives us the fight that we want. I am all for trying to take down Dana White. He is a creep beyond creep, right? But
yeah,
this is... Liv had hundreds of millions of dollars and couldn't take down the PGA Tour. Now, I get it. I'm not trying to compare the UFC to the PGA Tour. The UFC is still relatively young, right? Like, the UFC has been relevant in America for 20 years tops. So it's more possible. But what is the money behind the PFL?
Yes. Well, so that's the other thing is that Shad Khan has now talked about buying out the PFL. I'm not sure how close they are to that at all.
That certainly becomes interesting.
Yes. Now Bellator is going to get sold. Scott Coker, the president of Bellator, has announced that probably in the next 3 months or so. Bellator will be sold, and PFL is kind of one of the leading candidates to just absorb it. And I think that would be good because you'd have more
legitimate competition.
Yeah, you could combine them, and
but isn't it a little bit awkward though that ESPN's doing business with both of them?
Yeah,
and doesn't that make you think like if at some point the UFC legitimately bought the PFL as being competition, that they would say, no, you're not doing this any longer? Like, I feel like that's always the biggest way that you know that like the NFL thinks nothing of the XFL is that they allow their network partners to.
Yeah, I mean that's probably true. I think. For fight fans, though, just in general, they enjoy the PFL being on ESPN. It's very accessible. Bellator is obviously exclusively on Showtime, and that's, it'd be nice not to have to worry about, I guess, going to Showtime every couple weeks whenever there's a Bellator card.
Okay. I mean,
and they have good talent over there, so you bring those over to the PFL, or
it's the thing that I said before. I love competition in theory.
Yeah.
But as a fan, I don't have the bandwidth. In order to be able to, I can't. I can barely watch the UFC fights.
Yeah.
Like there's just no world in which I'm going to be able to watch all of this. It can't possibly happen. Like for me, it's better when it's all under one umbrella. I just don't want Dana White to be the one holding the umbrella because Dana White is a creep.
Yeah. The problem with the John Jones. So John Jones signed an 8-fight deal with UFC like in January. So
Jesus Christ.
So
why would he do that?
I don't know. I guess it was literally like right before the Francis backed out of his. So I guess, so I'm not sure. I mean, John Jones has about as much leverage as anyone in the world.
Is there a
can
buyout
have.
to it? Like, is there a? I mean, like that's is it a fight? Is it a contract that he can get out of short of retiring? Right. Like,
right.
I don't know. I don't know.
Look, so that makes that.
I get why it's exciting to see the two of them, and I do remember now that happened.
It just probably is the ultimate tease, really.
That's what it feels like.
At least for the near future.
Right. And the worst part is if the guys are both 40. How old is
They're
Francis?
both like 35.
That's what I'm saying. Is the worst
by
part
the
is
time-
if by the time it works out that you can get there, both these guys are 40. Like there's actually a very short window for which these guys can both be at the top of their game and at the peak of their career, and at some point it becomes, Oscar De La Hoya fighting Floyd Mayweather, where like he's still only technically Oscar De La Hoya.
That's
at that point.
because they're both in their prime. So John Jones is 35, Francis is 36. And for heavyweights,
that's a good spot. But there's not. I know there are guys that fight till they're 40 that are heavyweights, like, and it works. But you're not the same guy at 40 at that point. I think it's a shorter year or two right now that you need to strike here in order for it to be the fight that you want it to be.
Yeah, like you said, not a whole lot going on in boxing. Next week, Jared Anderson is undefeated. He'll fight Charles Martin.
Yes,
Charles Martin.
Sure.
Next week.
These are people we've heard of.
Former heavyweight champ, Charles Martin.
What did I say? Gervonta's got to stay. Like they made a final ruling, and he has to stay in jail. So the story on the whole thing was that they're claiming his attorney told him that he could stay at this new penthouse that he bought. And Gervonta's like, well, hey, I've got all these security that I need. I can't stay at a 2-bedroom apartment. Like, that's not an option for me. And the judge isn't having it. Like, this isn't a real confinement. You're in this luxury penthouse. Like, that's not a real thing, and made him go to jail, and there was a fight about it, and I think the final ruling was that he has to stay in prison.
So nothing on the Gervonta horizon so far, unfortunately. UFC did have a card last weekend. Jared Cannonier destroyed Vettori over 5 rounds, which just kind of muddies up the middleweight. I mean, we kind of knew that going into the fight, but nothing was going to really be solved with the middleweight. Ranking continue to be just a little muddied up, just with Izzy being better than everyone, so we still don't really know who his next opponent should be. I think he's going to fight in September in Sydney, and probably just get the winner of the Robert Whittaker Dricus du Plessis fight, which is in July. Just the middleweight, just not really. Khamzat could be an interesting one there, but he hasn't fought in a while either, so it's just kind of you're just trying to make something interesting for Israel Adesanya.
Okay.
This weekend, a national televised card on ABC. They're in Jacksonville. The main card starts at 3. It is Ilia Topuria and Josh Emmett, the featherweights.
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, Josh Emmett just lost to Yair Rodriguez in the interim featherweight title fight, but he's gonna fight Volk, or Yair's gonna fight Volk, and Volkanovski's, he's the guy. He's the top featherweight. So maybe if Topuria wins, which he should, it would move him into getting potentially the next title shot. But those are the high stakes. That's the highest stakes this weekend's card. Okay. In Jacksonville, obviously PFL Friday night as well. Just a couple notable names: Shane Burgos, Olivier Aubin-Mercier.
You're pushing it. No one cares.
Yeah, and then
When is the Crawford Spence fight? That's the next big fight. When is that? Because I saw something about the pay-per-view price for that, and
you were like, all right, I'll throw that
No.
over.
Hang on a second.
That fight is going to be the end of July.
The last weekend of July?
Yeah, last weekend of July.
$84.95. $84.95 for Spence Crawford.
I mean,
not in this house.
And that's kind of, I guess, what makes the PFL Bellator merger. I mean, if it happens,
Right,
just the accessibility. The accessibility is what makes kind of MMA, I think, as they kind of make a turn towards trying to dethrone boxing, I think it's the premier combat sport.
I don't
pay $90.
I understand. I just don't buy into that competition thing at all. There's no reason.
They're too different.
Right, they're too different, and I don't really understand. Who are you trying to convince to be one and not the other?
Right.
It's such a bizarro world. You're allowed. I just don't. I don't buy into it. I don't buy into it. That might be something that drives them, and I know at first it definitely was driving them, but at some point, you're not making this sport go away.
They're separate entities.
Correct. Do your thing. Just worry about your product and try to have a good product.
We'll see how many people pay $85.
Yeah, $84.95 is a very difficult. That is a very difficult thing to do.
But yeah, slow week for fighting words, but had to do.
Okay, all right. No, I appreciate it. Very good. Now, let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer. BuyAToyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out BuyAToyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Shohei Ohtani indeed had 12 strikeouts last night when the Angels took on the Dodgers. He also reached base safely, and he also got handed the loss after recording 12 strikeouts. He is the first American League pitcher to do those three things, strike out 12, reach base, and pick up the loss since Mickey Lolich did it for the Tigers in 1971.
Lolich?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay.
Lolich.
Sure. Go with it. Just keep going.
Luis Arraez is batting .398 through the Marlins.
Bum, he stinks. Yeah. Can't even hit 400. What a loser.
Through his first 75 games. That is the best by any player through their first 75 games since Tony Fernandez hit .405 in 1999 through Toronto's first 75 games. However, one notable, similarity here is in 1941 when Ted Williams hit 400 through his first 75 games. He was hitting exactly .398.
Well, how about that? Luis Arraez greater than sign Ted Williams.
Yes, exactly. On this day, 1994, we're doing a basketball tidbit. There's just not a whole lot going on in baseball.
The NBA draft is happening.
Yes.
Is it related to the NBA draft?
Unfortunately, it's not.
Okay, then that doesn't make any sense.
Let me see if I have one.
The NBA draft is tonight. I feel like if we were preparing a tidbit related to, I get it, we're not really talking about the NBA draft because what is there for us to talk about? But I do feel like if we were doing a quiz, a NBA draft-related quiz would make sense considering, again, that's the event that's tonight and then won't happen again for another year. Not sure if you've heard. They only do it once. How we doing over there?
I'm trying to see if I still have this tidbit up that I used last year around the draft.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely forgotten about it. There's no question
All right, let me
that
see.
I will have forgotten about it.
Tidbits here. No, that's my Maryland baseball one. I think it was about Maryland basketball players getting drafted.
Okay.
If I can.
All right. Well, I don't think there'll be any of those this year.
Yeah, right. Okay, so the only number one overall pick in Maryland basketball history was Joe Smith. Can you name the 8 other first-rounders that came out of Maryland basketball since Joe Smith? Since Joe Smith, so 1995.
Oh, since Joe Smith.
Yes.
Okay.
The
Juan Dixon.
Juan Dixon is one of them.
God. Now it's remembering who was first round and who was Gravis was first round.
Gravis was indeed first round.
Kevin Herter.
Kevin Herter was first round.
Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith was first round.
Wow. Oh, Chris Wilcox.
Chris Wilcox was first round.
I'm
missing 3. Wait. Yeah, 3.
God, it's so hard to remember where these guys went in the draft. Bruno.
Not Bruno.
He was second round.
Yeah, he was second round.
Damn it. Damn it. I really thought I was gonna nail that one. God, who else was a first rounder? Oh, Alex Len.
Alex Len was indeed
very
drafted
early.
In the
it
first
was like a top
round.
5 pick.
I think it was fifth overall. Yeah, pick 5 in 2013. Alex Len.
Oh, Steve Francis was after.
Steve Francis was indeed
and
a
was
first
number
round
2
pick.
overall.
Last one.
Oh God.
End of the first round.
End of the first round.
Pick 28. He's a Baltimore guy.
Oh, would you settle down over there? Oh, Keith Booth. Yeah.
Keith Booth. Yes. Dunbar alum.
I don't like it when you do that. I could have gotten that.
All right, so
actually, I don't. I think I would have guessed Blake before I would have guessed Booth, but maybe that's just because Blake had a better career.
Other one I was going to mention on this day in 1994, Hakeem Olajuwon became the first player born outside of the U.S. to win Finals MVP. And since then, there have been 5 other players that have won Finals MVP not born in the U.S. Jokic is, of course, the most recent.
Ginobili?
Ginobili did not win.
Parker?
Parker did.
Yeah. I knew it was one of them.
And there's another Spur. I didn't know he was not born in the U.S.
Or are they counting Duncan because he was from?
Yeah.
But he was like the Virgin Islands. It's like a U.S.
It counts. That's where they're counting outside the 50 U.S. states.
Now
So that's too much of a stretch for it.
I mean, I don't know. That is a bit of a Giannis, obviously.
Giannis.
And how many more did you say there were?
There's one more.
So one more. Keep it in your pants.
Okay.
There's nothing. I know you're over there just itching. Just keep it in your. Powell didn't win.
He did not win.
But Kobe was not born in the U.S., right? Or no, he was
Kobe's
born
not on this
and then
list. He's not on this list. Where was Kobe?
Kobe was born in the U.S., then moved to Italy or whatever with his dad when his dad was playing overseas.
Yeah, he was born in Philly and then
moved back to Philly.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
He played for he won in 2011. Took down LeBron in the first year of the Miami Heat.
Oh, Dirk, right.
Dirk Nowitzki.
Big
yes.
dummy. I should have gotten that. All right, very good. Tubular is brought to you today by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers right now. Get $150 in bonus bets from DraftKings. After you place your first $5 bet, see this and other great sportsbook offers at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Yes, the draft tonight is on ESPN, but also the first round is on ABC as well. 8 o'clock for that. Again, both rounds on ESPN, unless Nikola Jokic gets drafted, in which case it'll be during a commercial. But both rounds on ESPN, first round on ABC. Baseball today, Diamondbacks Nationals, 1 o'clock on MASN. MLB Network Braves Phillies at 1, Mariners Yankees at 7. ESPN Plus Pirates Marlins at 6:40. LSU and Wake Forest for the right to play Florida in the College World Series Championship round. That game tonight, elimination game, 7 o'clock on ESPN2. Washington Mystics, Chicago Sky at 8 o'clock on NBC Sports Washington, which will no longer be called NBC Sports Washington this fall. They're changing it to Monumental Sports Network, which is kind of weird that it took this long, honestly. That game is also on Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime has Indiana Fever, Seattle Storm at 10, CBS Sports Network, Connecticut Sun, Minnesota Lynx at 8. Round 1 of the PGA Travelers Championship at 3 o'clock on Golf Channel and Access TV for Impact Wrestling at 8. Some non-sports. Oh, a big one today.
The Bear is back.
The Bear is back.
Season 2 will premiere on Hulu today. I keep wanting to say HBO Max. On Max, you're going to
I feel like The Bear. So, I've been watching Shameless because, The Bear was what told me. I had never watched Shameless, but I was like,
you like that guy?
Yeah,
I like the Bear guy.
And so I've been watching Shameless, and now it's frustrating because I didn't realize it was 11 effing seasons of Shameless. So I'm 7 seasons in.
Wow, look, that's impressive.
Well, I mean, I've been watching for a while, and I don't want to pause, but I want to watch The Bear. Did they do the whole season of The Bear, or are they doing weekly?
Let me see.
It's Hulu, so I think they're doing weekly, right?
Right?
They
Hulu's
always
do.
a weekly
They usually
thing.
do weekly.
Okay, all right, then I can do that. I can watch. I can pause for a second on Shameless to watch an episode of The Bear. All right, go ahead.
So Downey's, it is called Downey's Dream Car. So Robert Downey Jr. is just.
I heard
people,
about that.
Yeah, he's just he's trying to make his car collection, turn them into eco-friendly cars.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wish him well. Wait,
that Peter Crouch film is going to be on Prime Video. Peter Crouch is just a documentary about his career and about how freakishly tall he was playing soccer. And otherwise, not a whole lot. The Blacklist is back on NBC as they were winding down the last couple episodes of this season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
I know Stan's a Blacklist guy.
I've never watched The Blacklist.
Neither have I. Heard it's pretty good though.
Okay, maybe at some point in the future, but I don't have room right now. I'm sorry. I've got 5 more seasons of Shameless to watch because it never ends. How can this show keep going? Thanks today to LaMonte Wade. Thanks also to Jud Fabian as well as to Dirk Koetter. We'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Stan will be in tomorrow. We are going to catch up Roman Hemby, running back at the University of Maryland. He's hosting an event this weekend in Harford County, so we'll catch up with him.
New Navy baseball head coach.
Oh, right, Chuck Ristano. Yep, who came from Florida State.
Take a trip to Delmarva, Trendon Craig.
Okay.
Yes, having a good June. He was injured.
Okay. Stuff and things. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Costa Sin, All-American Lacrosse, the Baltimore Orioles, Birdland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. Go nobody. Duke sucks.